Hello everybody and welcome back to The Sit Down, where in today's episode we're going to get into the heavyweight contest that's taking place this Saturday night, the 28th of March at the Co-op in Manchester, and that is our very own Moses Itauma versus Jermaine Franklin. Now, my goodness, I've been waiting for this fight. Well, we've all been waiting for it since January, where it was originally set to take place, but I feel like I've been waiting for this fight because it feels like it's all been a bit too quiet in boxing, hasn't it? And one thing that Moses Itauma does so well is make it not quiet environment whatsoever. He is someone that always gets us talking because he is absolutely sensational at what he does. So to give you an insight, to give you an idea, he's had 13 wins. 11 of those have been by way of knockout. So he is someone that we expect to see as, you know, someone who is brings so much excitement and so much flair to the ring every time he steps through the ropes. So, you know, we're hoping that obviously this Saturday provides the same. Let's talk a little bit about his opponent, Jermaine Franklin. Now, I feel in a way people are having a tendency to overlook Jermaine Franklin, and I'm not sure if that's completely fair. Jermaine Franklin is 31 years old. He's had 26 fights. Of those 26, he's never been stopped, and he has delivered himself 15 stoppages. So he's absolutely not a pushover. He's not, you know, he's not a walkover. He's someone that Moses Itauma is taking seriously, and that became very apparent. Well, I think it's always been apparent, but it became specifically apparent today after the press conference where he showed Jermaine Franklin an enormous amount of respect. And this is something I really love about Moses Itauma, because he's such a lovely young man, isn't he? He's just like, firstly, every time he kind of opens up or talks, you get this impression that he's like wise beyond his years and that still waters run deep. But he's also just very respectful, and he's very like to the point and just says what he's thinking, and you got to respect his level of authenticity. But yeah, sorry, circling back, got a bit sidetracked there. Circling back to Jermaine Franklin, he is coming off a few wins, so he's got a little bit of confidence. He's got a little bit of momentum behind him. He's definitely not coming to you know, roll over or whatever. He's coming to win. It is a step-up contest for Moses Itauma. And some critics have said things like, well, how could it be considered a step up when Jermaine Franklin has been formally defeated by Dillian Whyte, and Moses Itauma stopped Dillian Whyte in the first round? But, you know, just as a reminder, that although Dillian Whyte got the nod that night against Jermaine Franklin, I think it was back in 2022, a lot of people felt that actually the decision should have gone to Franklin on that night. Since then, Franklin went on to box Anthony Joshua on UK soil, where he did lose unanimously. Yes, I believe unanimously. And that was in 2023. And then he's gone on and he's got two or three wins under his belt. And now he's facing Moses Itauma. So to talk about Moses Itauma a little bit, the last time we saw him in action was in August, where he got that first round stoppage over Dillian Whyte. And that was, you know, an absolute crowd pleaser. Prior to that, he hadn't boxed in a little while. No, I'm lying. He had boxed in May, where he'd gotten a second round stoppage, and prior to that in December, where he got a first round stoppage. So the thing with Moses is that he definitely needs more rounds, and who better to get in the ring with than someone who has never been stopped in 26 fights, right? So I feel like this is going to be a really, really fantastic test for Moses, and looking forward to seeing how this fight is going to play out. I want to talk a little bit about the press conference which happened today, and I felt that it was very informative in the sense of Moses himself said that there are, I love how I'm just saying Moses like I know this guy. I don't. Moses Itauma, he said that there are question marks that his team have, that he has, that he wants answered, and that he keeps getting asked about, you know, future heavyweight fights he might be involved in. And he made a point of saying that actually at this point, I'm just, you know, I'm actually deflecting those questions because I've got a very live, very real opponent, a real contest, a real challenge, in front of me in the form of Jermaine Franklin. And I really liked that actually, because it shows me that his mentality, where his mentality is at and where his focus is, and this is exactly the right place. He also made a point when the questions were given to the media to kind of pose their questions. Everyone was asking him questions, and he made a point of saying, oh, am I, no questions for anyone else? Is it just for me? Which I thought was nice. I think it gave Jermaine Franklin the respect that he deserves, absolutely deserves. There was a very interesting question from somebody in the press, and I wish I could remember their name so I could credit them, but they said something like, Moses Itauma is often compared to the likes of Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, can Moses see why those comparisons are drawn? And I really, really appreciated Atama's answer, because he said something along the lines of, sorry, apologies, let me just turn that off. He said something along the lines of, yes and no, because he said obviously there's a long way for him to go. Don't quote me, this was not verbatim, but he said obviously there's a long way for him to go, and there's no past and there's no future. There's only the present day, and in the present day he is doing what he needs to do and he's performing well, and he's sure that Messi and Ronaldo probably came across the same sort of like challenges or thoughts and whatever at this stage in their careers. So kids wise, we really like what we heard today. Then there was another interesting segment of the press conference where somebody asked, you had an opportunity to look into Leon White's eyes before the fight. Don't know if you've had the opportunity to look in Franklin's eyes, at this current stage, but if you have, can you, has there been a difference? And Atama said that he actually sees more in Jermaine Franklin's eyes than he's seen in many of his other former opponents. So I think it's just gearing up to be the stuff of heavyweight dreams, isn't it? So really, really looking forward to what happens on Saturday night, and obviously not looking past that point. But I think it's important to note that Frank Warren, Uncle Frank, he did say yesterday in an interview that they're looking to get Moses, should all go well on Saturday, they're looking to get Moses out fighting for a world title by the end of the year. And he spoke about, where he's ranked with certain organizations. I do remember he explicitly mentioned the WBO and said that he's ranked as, he believes he's ranked as number 1 for the WBO. And that makes him a mandatory. And obviously we know who's holding the WBO belt currently is Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley is due to fight Daniel Dubois in the coming months. So, could this potentially be a fight that we see towards the end of this year? And if we park that for a moment, we also cast our minds back to what Usyk was saying more recently when he was talking about his 3-fight until retirement plan. And he obviously has, he stated that he has plans to also face the winner of that fight too. So how that works out timing wise, I don't know. Does that mean potentially there is a future in which we see Moses Itauma versus Alexander Usyk versus Moses Atama, however which way you want to say that. I don't know. I hope so, but I don't know. Either way, guys, it's set to be an absolute cracking fight on Saturday, which I'm really looking forward to. There are some other really good cards on the show, and I don't have time to get into all of them, but one that I'm specifically looking forward to seeing is the Willie Hutchinson versus Ezra Taylor fight. It was heating up a little bit in the press conference today. Willie is going in there full of confidence. Ezra was also full of confidence, and that's a really, really good domestic dust-up in the light heavyweight division, so it'll be really interesting to see the result of that. But let's leave it there for today. I will be doing another episode probably on Saturday night after the fights, just as a sort of breakdown, so stay tuned for that. But in the comments, let me know if you think that Moses Itauma is going to get the stoppage over Jermaine Franklin. I personally predicted in an episode that Laurie and I recorded earlier this week, Beyond the Ropes, which is now on DR Sports, go check it out. I predicted a 4 to 6 round stoppage. Laurie predicted 6 to 8. I want to hear what you think is going to happen on Saturday. In the meantime, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share, comment, do all those things there. And we look forward to catching you on the next episode of The Sit Down.